Hello, everyone. My name is Natalie Vartanian. I am the Community Engagement Manager at CORE, and I wanted to pop on today to talk about, um, all of the change that's happening right now and how to be with it. It's been a tough year. It's been um, a hard year. It's been a bit of a crucible in a way, you know, um, and it's been showing up in so many different ways. For me personally, I know that it's been just anxious and stressful, and there's ways that the year has been um, just so much change. And the thing that I've realized is um, when there's a lot of change, that kind of triggers that part of us that is trying to protect ourselves, to keep things the same, because, we equate change with danger. And when we equate change with danger, we're going to be in a protection, right? Like at CORE, we call this like there's our healthy self that can kind of be with everything, manage everything. Then there's our survivor self that's trying to protect us from being hurt, from dying basically. And then there's this other part of us that's underneath feeling the feelings. We call it our wounded self. And so right now what I see is our survivor selves are in overdrive. And because they're in overdrive, um, it's causing all sorts of things to happen because our brain is basically hyper functioning, right? It's like, I don't know how many of you have felt this, but I have, of like my brain will not turn off. It's like nonstop going. If it wasn't going before, it's like kicked into a new gear. Because our brain is trying to figure out how to not feel scared, how to not feel anxious, how to not feel sad, how to not feel angry. It's just like all of these emotions are kind of happening under the surface. And our brains are trying to plan ourselves out of having to deal with how we're feeling about these changes, and here's the thing, it's more than normal. It's more than normal to feel how you're feeling. It's more than normal, especially given the circumstances right now. We kind of all act like it's business as usual in some ways, or that we should be feeling and acting as if things are business as usual, but they're not. And so, of course, you're feeling scared. Of course, you're feeling anxious. Of course, you're feeling stressed. And here's the thing, you know, the problem is also not just that we're trying to plan ourselves out of something that we can't plan ourselves out of, right? We're just kind of like spinning our wheels in place. But the other thing is like it shows up in our lives in so many ways that we may not realize is stress, Um, and so I wanted to kind of point those things out of like, sure, there are these obvious things of like, I'm having an anxiety attack, or I'm so depressed I can't get out of bed, and I have felt all of those things. Um, but there's these subtle ways that it also shows up, and these subtle ways are, feeling cranky, feeling irritable, feeling like resentful, um, picking apart something, being like hypercritical, um, or feelings of like hopelessness, or just kind of like a lethargy, or or I've been having this recently too, of like the littlest things will have me start crying, and I don't understand why, but it just like, you know because our emotions are pretty close to the surface, and what we're doing is trying to like push them down or push them away. And then, but what happens is we get hyper focused then on these emotions, right? And we might get into the arguments that we're, kind of like getting focused on things, and not being able to let it go. Um, and we're not able to kind of pull out and have perspective around things. And And so this might show up kind of like physically, like maybe you're having a problem sleeping, maybe you're having like digestion problems, kind of these health problems, or maybe they're at work, like you're missing deadlines, or you're not, like things are slipping, you feel like you can't juggle things as much as you were before, you're not as like sharp as you used to be. So it's like this, everything being heightened, but more in like a negative direction. It's like everything feels like it's life or death in a way. And that's the part, like, because our survivor selves are in overdrive to make sure that we're safe and we're not scared, or we're not um, sad, or we're not hurt, or even the grief of what's happening right now. Just like there's lots to be feeling, um, and there's a stake. There's something that comes with that if we don't actually be with what we're feeling versus the planning, right? Because our emotions, they're stored in our bodies. Like, emotions are just energy, and if they don't have somewhere to go, they're going to stay inside, and they're going to, in some way, get stuck in our bodies. There's so many studies that link our emotions and not processing our emotions with our bodies, and like trauma gets stuck in our bodies, and then it shows up as physical ailments. And so that's the thing. So what's at stake if we don't actually be with the feelings around all this change versus trying to plan our way out of the change, um, is we might crash and burn, like where we get to that total depletion place. And I've had that happen where I just go and go and go and go and push away and push away and push away, and then all of a sudden I can't get out of bed for like 2 3 days because I'm either crying a lot or just like feeling so shitty that I can't do my job, right? So just like total crash and burn, like meltdown style. Another thing is, like, we get stuck, it's like we're in a loop, and it's like we can't let it go, right? And it just like spins and spins and spins and spins, um, that we can't even focus on anything else, right? And so this like looping thing, we kind of get stuck again and don't know how to get out of protect and react mode, right? We can't come to that healthy place of reconciling and connecting, right? Have you noticed how that happens when we're in like a stressed out place? Like the last thing we can think of is actually connecting, like leaning into a situation or with a person. Like we just want to lean out and run or fight, right? There's no connection. There's no reconciliation there. And again, what's at stake is our relationships, our jobs, our health, our mental well-being. You know, it's not a light thing. I've seen it happen with so many people, with clients, with family, with myself. Like those times where and I'm a pretty emotional being, but again, that survivor part in us is so strong that it will do anything it can to not feel, because that feeling feels like death, even though we're not. And that's the part that's um, so sophisticated. The survivor will make you think that you are in a life or death situation to get you to act, even if you're not in one, right? Like if you sit and pause, like just everybody, just take a moment. Let's all do it together. Just take a moment and just pause. Just breathe. Just notice your surroundings. You are safe. You're probably in your car. You're probably in a room somewhere. You have shelter. You have um, safety, right? Like base safety. I'm talking to most of us. I know that there are certain people that do not experience this. But for most of us, we're safe, right? But our brains have us think we're not, so your happiness, your joy, your life force is going to get sucked out if you're always in this spinning place, right? All of our energy then gets focused on this versus what's here, what's true, you know, your quality of life, your creativity, your possibility, right? That's what's at stake if we don't kind of stop and be with what's happening. So what doesn't work? What doesn't work is trying to think your way out of this, right? Like you're just gonna like power through it somehow. And again, guilty. Like I've done this so many times. Like I'm a recovering type A personality, you know. And I think a lot of us in the Western world are taught that you do your way out of things, you know, instead of being with what's happening, right? And so because we have this aversion to like feeling anything that might be a semblance of pain or hardship or something bad, the aversion is so strong that, you know, we try and power and think ourselves out of it. Another thing that doesn't work is criticizing or judging yourself for feeling the way that you're feeling. Because, hello, it's totally understandable. We're all feeling anxious and stressed right now, you know, in some way or another. And again, it shows up so differently. And it doesn't negate it if it's showing up subtly or if it's showing up overtly. That's the part. Like, stop judging yourself for feeling the way that you're feeling. Stop criticizing yourself, you know? I mean, I think about this analogy of like if a kid just fell down, right? Instead of berating them and yelling at them for falling, you know, it's that instinct to want to comfort and to want to be like, I get it, you're scared, it's okay, yeah, oh, it's probably really painful, you know, are you hurt? You know, we go to like compassion and curiosity. And so to be compassionate and curious with ourselves instead of critical and judgmental and harsh, right? So that doesn't work. And then getting fixated on how you're feeling. So here's the other thing. It's kind of like the enemies of feelings in that place where we get so fixated on the feeling. We're like, I am feeling my feelings. I'm angry and I'm angry all the time. And, you know, like, what do you mean I'm not feeling my feelings? But are they moving through, or are you stuck on that feeling, right? Is there like a death grip to that feeling? Do you feel controlled by your feelings? That isn't feeling your feeling, you know, that's focusing on your feeling and getting again hyper fixated on it. And so the way to move through it, the way to be with this change is to be with the change, to be with the feelings. So one thing that I like to recommend to my clients and what we do here at Core is slow down. Slow down enough to notice what's actually happening, right? And the first step to that is even noticing when you're in a stress response, right? The awareness it takes. So if you find yourself like irritable, that's usually a telltale sign, right? If you're irritable, if you're frustrated, if you're cranky, um, or again, if you're feeling kind of lethargic or avoidant, that's another one when you're in a stress response. Or if you're finding yourself just like kind of hyper focused on something. So that's step one, is just to even notice that you're in it so you can kind of slow down. And because again, you're in kind of a hyper mode. And so to bring yourself back, slow it down. And then um, asking yourself, what's underneath, right? So what is underneath? Like what's really going on underneath those stressors, those reactions and those responses? And a lot of times you're gonna get more to the actual feeling, like and like primary emotion style, like anger, sadness, happiness, joy, pain, you know, like they're just like primary emotions are underneath. And once you're with that, you can actually let yourself feel the emotions. Like it helps me to actually even say it like, oh, oh, I'm scared right now, like, or I'm really sad, and when I can pinpoint it like that, it's like something starts to break, and then I might have the opportunity to actually feel it and move through it, and it'll be like a wave. It'll come and it'll go. You might have another wave come and it'll go, but they eventually subside if you let yourself actually feel it, and all the way through, right? Because again, they're stored in our bodies, so if we don't let the anger like peak and release, that anger is going to stay stuck inside, and it's going to metastasize, I think is the word. So, and the last thing I'll say to that is what I spoke to is like more of the in the moment way to be with it, right? Like more of the reactive way to be with it is to kind of have that awareness, to notice, to slow down, to ask the questions. And then there's a proactive way to be with it. And that's when you are tending to your emotions and you're giving yourself space to off gas it, right? To tend to it in the way of, I'm gonna, again, like release the pressure along the way so that it doesn't build up and I blow or I melt down or I have an anxiety attack, right? Like these extreme versions of that. Um, and how you can do that is joining us this Friday. At Core, we have an emotional release session. And so, for those of you that are alumni at Core, those of you that have experience with being with your emotions, there's a space to be with your emotions in that way. Um, and so, it's this Friday. I'll put the link below, 5 to 7 p.m. Pacific time. And it's a wonderful opportunity for you to just with facilitators, right? You don't have to do this alone because again, it's challenging. Like if you've done it a couple of times, I mean, I've definitely done it for myself now that I've had a couple, but it's it's an amazing experience to let yourself be led in a space in the comfort of your own home, right, with trained facilitators so that you can have the emotions peak and release and you're not being gripped by it, right? And letting those gremlins run you of anxiety and stress and grief and sadness. You can be with them in a way where they don't run you, right? They just move through you. And then you can come to a place of inspiration, of levity, of possibility, um, of just imagination again. So we hope to see you this Friday. If you have any questions, you can leave a comment, or anything that happened in this live, you can leave a comment below. We would love to chat with you, keep the conversation going, and we hope to see you this Friday. Thank you again, and I really hope you're able to like be with yourselves and your emotions in a way that is tender and compassionate and curious and giving it permission to just be without criticizing it. All right, everyone, have an amazing day, and we hope to see you at the emotional release this Friday.